Competition aplenty in Oxnard, California. It's practice number 2 of 2021 Dallas Cowboys training camp presented by American Airlines, and this is Training Camp Live. Welcome into Oxnard, California. Kyle Youmans alongside Rob Phillips here for Training Camp Live presented by American Airlines, the official airlines of the Dallas Cowboys. And Rob, well, we've got some competition to get into. What are we looking at here?
Well, it's a modified version basically of 7-on-7, some passing drills against the DBs and the linebackers. It's not team drills yet. It's not pads, but it is some competitive work. We already saw Donovan Wilson with an interception, Texas A&M Aggie, by the way. So some competition early in practice today.
Had to sprinkle that in there. Jeremy Sprinkle out there making a nice play earlier in practice as well. But let's take an actual look at what we've got going on. A modified edition. There's a lot of teaching going on, at least at the moment, because, of course, a lot of young guys. This is more like an OTA sort of feel to it. What have you seen from the early fractions of practice?
Well, a lot of teaching, a lot of fundamentals so far. You know, they're not going to be in pads until next week. So working on special teams. We saw some punt return drills early, and now we're seeing a little work on air here in the passing game with the quarterbacks.
So 3 quarterbacks out there at the moment, actually all 4 now, as Cooper Rush has now rejoined the group of gunslingers. We've got Ben DiNucci out there as well as Dak Prescott. Close play on the near sideline. Trayvon Diggs getting in a way to break that one up.
We've seen a lot of Trayvon Diggs in that regard in 2 practices. He's made plays on the ball. Now, Dak said the interception a couple days ago, he was 4 yards out of bounds, so that didn't count. But you're seeing DBs fly around early. That was on Johnny Dixon, who's a training camp roster hopeful at wide receiver number 6.
And that was a throw from Ben DiNucci, but Dak Prescott himself, after talking about Trayvon Diggs being out of bounds, talking about how he's going to challenge some of those guys, especially some of these second-year players, another second-year returner, Mr. CeeDee Lamb, getting a little bit of the action as well. But plenty of these second-year guys expected to take that next step. Mike McCarthy even talked about that the other day.
Yeah, and he's right. Especially coming off the COVID pandemic year where you didn't have a normal offseason to begin with, and then you get your first full offseason of your career. I think CeeDee Lamb's primed to have a big year. We're supposed to hear from him after practice, and he looks like he's worked on his body, his strength, maybe adding a little weight. Not sure about that, but he looks good so far in what we've seen from practice.
Here's Diggs on Fehoko. Nice throw over the top, and a catch from Simi Fehoko, the Stanford rookie on the near side, who really needs a nice camp.
He does, because the top wide receivers, top 5, are pretty much set from last year. Noah Brown, Cedric Wilson, kind of that 4-5 receivers, and they're going to be hard to push out. Now, maybe the Cowboys could keep 6, but Simi's got a shot at it. He's a big playmaker in college, and that was a nice throw and a nice catch there over the shoulder there.
All right, so now moving into a more traditional version of 7-on-7, I should say. You have the starting defense out there, Donovan Wilson, Devontae Casey at the safety. Dak Prescott throwing to his number 1 receivers, rolling out to his left. Cedric Wilson in contact with a corner. I believe that was Jordan Lewis that pushed him out of bounds.
And we talked earlier about the depth at wide receiver. Cedric Wilson had a really nice year, especially early in the season before Dak got hurt with the ankle. And you see those rollouts by Dak. You'll see those scramble drills with the quarterbacks. It's something Mike McCarthy likes because plays break down often in the pocket for quarterbacks. And I think it's good for Dak coming off the injury to be in kind of those unscripted improvisational situations.
Had a really nice throw in the first practice of training camp over the top to Malik Turner, and this time he was trying to fit it in a tight window. Ooh, Garrett Gilbert trying to do the same thing, out of bounds on the near sideline. But this scramble drill is something that Mike McCarthy did a lot during his time in Green Bay. It's one of the reasons why I think Aaron Rodgers is so comfortable being out of the pocket and running and throwing on the run at the same time. One of the things that made him so successful early in his career.
I think Rodgers might be the best in the league, maybe one of the best ever in throwing on the run. And I think Dak, over Dak's career, some of the best throws he's made has been running, on the move. And so that's one of his strengths and something Mike McCarthy's trying to build on, obviously.
Interesting 2 tight end set. You've got Simi Fehoko off to the right with a dual wide receiver look. Malik Turner on the far outside. Schultz and Jarwin, the top 2 tight ends, as Dak Prescott completes it over the middle to Schultz. Deontay Burton was the one in coverage. Lots of youth on this defense, but also on the offensive side, you get to see the two tight ends kind of dealing with each other. That's a thing that's become pretty common throughout the NFL is two tight end looks, and this defense is going to have to get used to seeing that.
Yeah, I think 11 personnel was obviously the most used group for the Cowboys on offense, 3 wide receivers, but you got Blake Jarwin back. Dalton Schultz is not going anywhere in terms of his snap count based on his production last year. So it's a nice problem for Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator.
Here's DiNucci rolling out to his right, trying to fit it in a tight window,
Nice
and it
throw.
is complete. A good throw, as it was Darian Thompson in coverage on top of Osarius Mitchell, the Mississippi State second-year wide receiver who was not a part of the team last year, opted out due to COVID-19. Should see Dak Prescott coming up here in a little bit, and this is the first time we've seen on Training Camp Live exactly how he's looked. How's he looked to you?
He's looked the same to me. I think the first practice we watched a couple days ago, some of the timing with the wide receivers, still working that out. But because he hasn't been in team drills since the injury last year. But he's going to work that out with the receivers. I'm pretty confident of that for sure.
Thought about letting that one go to Jeremy Sprinkle Long. Now directing traffic, lets this one fly off balance. CD Lamb!
Oh, my goodness.
Couldn't come up with it. Micah Parsons was in coverage, started the play in the slot, and just couldn't make the grab. He had a little bit of separation, though, on the rookie.
How much ground he covered right there, that's impressive for an off-the-ball linebacker who, by the way, Micah Parsons, we've seen him already kind of do everything. We've seen him drop in coverage on tight ends, running backs, wide receivers right there, or he'll rush off the edge. They got big plans for him for the number 12 overall pick for sure.
So plenty of looks at this young defense, and then also Dak Prescott letting it loose a little bit, trying to find CD Lamb on that last play, but over the course of the entire practice, even some of what the fans weren't able to see, did anything stick out to you?
Well, it's still got a little bit of an OTAs, mini camp feel. They're working on fundamentals. They're working on individual drills. I can't wait for those pads to get on because we're already seeing some good competition here without the pads, with a lot of talent and some pop out there on the field. And we got a taste of it today with CD Lamb, with Micah Parsons, and Dak Prescott, and some others.
And the good news is now that we are done with this Training Camp Live, we don't have to wait very long for the next one. We've got one coming up tomorrow. It's the first day of back-to-back practices here in Oxnard. But until then, for Rob Phillips, I'm Kyle Youmans. That'll do it for us here on Training Camp Live, presented by American Airlines, the official airlines of the Dallas Cowboys.